Husband wants to live with his wife. It doesn't matter that she is turned into a ghost. The film begins with a pregnant woman, Sari, who is filling water from a river. She greets the boatman and heads home. As she reaches her house, she starts bleeding and falls to the ground, calling out for her husband, Kang Mak. Sari is in a difficult situation, alone and struggling. The question arises, does Sari remain healthy and deliver her baby safely? The scene shifts to Operation Plumeria, where Sari's husband, Kang Mak, is fighting alongside his comrades. The soldiers are putting up a fierce resistance, with gunfire and explosions all around. When the opposing soldiers throw grenades, Kang Mak jumps on top of one, sacrificing himself to save his comrades. The grenade explodes, killing many soldiers and injuring Solah. Solah, team leader Supra, Jaka, Fajrul, and Makmur are all sitting together. A soldier who lost his arm during the war starts singing a sad song in a loud voice, annoying Solah. Fajrul explains that he's singing loudly so Solah can hear him as his ear is injured. This is a peculiar thing. The soldier gets annoyed with everyone, and team leader Supra covers his face with a handkerchief, trying to say something, but he can't see because he's covered his eyes too. Then he scolds everyone, saying, "This isn't the time for fun but for fighting together." They all encourage each other to move forward. Meanwhile, Makmur looks at Sari's picture and gets distracted by the chaos around him. He's eager to join the fight, saying nobody will go and he'll fight alone. Then they all make a promise to always stand together like brothers and charge forward for the battle. The scene shifts to Sari, who calls out to Kang Mak with her child as night falls. The people in the surrounding area hastily lock themselves indoors with their families. Frightened, it seems they are all afraid of Sari. But why? Is Sari a ghost? On the other hand, war rages on, with Kang Mak and his comrades hiding below. Kang Mak's hands, covered in blood, take out Sari's picture, and he prays to God to spare his life so he can see his wife and child again. As they prepare to attack, another comrade is killed, but their spirits remain unbroken. They launch a fierce counterattack, and in the chaos, Solah, Jaka, and Fajrul are injured. At night, Kang Mak gathers the wounded soldiers. A stray bullet hits him in the stomach and he falls to the ground, calling out to Sari. Meanwhile, Sari is singing a lullaby to her baby in their home. The neighboring houses are frightened by her singing, thinking she's a witch. The next morning, Fajrul wakes up joyful to find everyone alive. They plan to return to their villages, deciding to visit Makmur's village first since it's the closest. As they approach the village, Makmur excitedly calls out to Sari, but she's nowhere to be found. He searches the house and his eyes land on a cradle swinging in the room. Suddenly, Sari touches his shoulder, startling him. They hug, and suddenly, Makmur's wound starts hurting again, causing Sari to worry and examine Makmur's wound. Then he notices Sari's stomach. He assumes she had a miscarriage and starts crying by lying on the floor like a child. However, Sari reveals their baby, Sipluk, who is sleeping. Makmur is overjoyed and hugs his child. As they introduce their child to their friends, Solah is attracted to Sari's beauty. Makmur tells his friends that Sari has won many beauty contests and awards. After the introductions, Makmur sends his friends to the empty house nearby to rest. As they settle in and sleep, Solah sees a ghostly figure on the wall. Supra wakes up and Solah tells him about the ghost. Supra sees the bird's shadow and tells Solah it's just a bird. Then, Supra wakes up Fajrul, who sees a dog's shadow on the wall. They start arguing about what they saw, a woman, a bird, or a dog. Jaka wakes up and sees a bunch of trees but claims it's a ghost. Suddenly, a ghostly figure with a disfigured mouth appears, frightening them. Jaka is traumatized and his eyes bulge in fear. Soldiers try to wake Jaka, but he's still shaken. As they try to calm him down, he wakes up from his nightmare, finding his friends holding objects, claiming they were just setting up the house. After a while, Makmur calls out to them from his house, and after freshening up, they all sit in the boat and head out to buy groceries. As they leave, Jaka looks back and smiles, seeing Sari standing outside the house. But when he turns back to look again, Sari vanishes from sight. Upon reaching the market, Makmur calls out to Weewid. Everyone looks at Makmur with a mix of fear and astonishment, and Weewid greets Makmur with forced joy, but seems fearful too. Weewid gives Makmur and his friends lots of fruits and vegetables for free. He even fulfills their requests and gives them a goat too. Makmur takes the groceries and heads to his friend Yu Supil's place, which looks unusual because Yu has unkempt hair and is chewing tobacco with half of it hanging out of her mouth. She is also making strange noises that leave everyone bewildered. Yu Supil tells them they will find peace after death. They think she is cursing them. Yu Supil claims that Sari is dead and has become a ghost living with soldiers. Makmur keeps laughing because he thinks Yu is just talking nonsense due to being drunk. They return home with the groceries and Makmur tells Sari that the villagers gave them all the groceries for free. Outside, Supra, Solah, Fajrul, and Jaka are worried and discussing the villagers' behavior. They wonder if Sari is indeed a ghost. Jaka suggests checking Sari's crotch to see if she is human or a spirit. Solah is tasked with doing this while Fajrul heads into the jungle. Sari is cooking when Solah tries to sneak a peek. However, he ends up looking at Sari's crotch instead of himself, which leads to a hilarious moment. When Sari turns around, Solah stops and starts telling her about a goat. Sari picks up a knife and points it at Solah, scaring him. But Sari sends Solah to cut banana leaves. Jaka is massaging Supra near the river and they're discussing Sari and her son, wondering if they're ghosts. Makmur overhears their conversation and expresses displeasure. Supra and Jaka pick up the child and start showing affection. Suddenly, Jaka sees Makmur holding his child behind him, which frightens Jaka. Supra has a pipe in his hand instead of the baby, which Makmur thinks is for practicing carrying Sipluk. On the other side, Fajrul is in the jungle, where he sees something on the ground. When he digs, he finds a hand skeleton wearing the same wedding ring Sari wears. Fajrul runs away but trips and falls. Bees attack him from behind and he starts shouting. Solah recognizes Fajrul's voice since he saw him in the jungle when he went to get banana leaves. Supra, Solah, and Jaka rush to the jungle to find Fajrul. They find him in a terrible state, with bees attacking him and his face badly hurt and swollen. Fajrul tries to tell them that Sari is a ghost but can't speak. He writes on the ground instead. Then Makmur arrives and Fajrul erases the writing with his foot, but Sari's name remains. However, Makmur's friends calm him down. The soldiers are worried about their friend Makmur and want to tell him the truth about his wife. Fajrul tries to tell Makmur, but Makmur doesn't understand. And before he can explain further, Sari appears. Sari has prepared dinner, and despite their reluctance, they sit down to eat. However, Sari has made strange dishes, including live insects and worms, which disgusts everyone. They make excuses to avoid eating, but Makmur insists they try the food. They're forced to eat and even pretend to enjoy Sari's cooking. I feel sorry for them, but if they didn't eat, Sari might have eaten them. After dinner, Makmur goes to get dessert, and Sari eats insects in front of them, frightening everyone. They quickly make excuses and flee, leaving Fajrul behind, but he also escapes. They get into the boat and start rowing, but the boat keeps spinning. Sari appears and asks them to promise not to disturb Makmur's happy life with her. Makmur returns with dessert, but his friends are gone. Sari tells him they fled because they believed the villagers' rumors that she's a ghost. Supra, Solah, Jaka, and Fajrul are packing to leave when they hear a knock on the door. They open it, but no one's there. When they turn back, Makmur is standing in front of them, angry that they believed the villagers and thought his wife was a ghost. Jaka argues that Makmur is blinded by love for Sari. They quarrel, but eventually, Makmur returns to his wife. Meanwhile, Makmur and Sari go on a date to the market and park. Sari wears a ghostly mask, and they have fun together, eating cotton candy, riding swings, and playing games. Makmur participates in a shooting game, but he misses every target. Then, Sari cleverly diverts his attention to the fireworks in the sky. She removes her mask, revealing her true face to the stall owner, who becomes startled and knocks over the cups. Sari does this so that Makmur can feel happy, thinking he hit the target. As a result, Makmur wins a toy bear, which he decides to keep for his son, Chipluk. Makmur wants to ride the Ferris wheel, but there's a huge crowd. Sari cleverly diverts Makmur's attention to the fireworks, then removes her mask, revealing her true face, scaring everyone away. The two then ride the Ferris wheel together, reminiscing. Meanwhile, Supra and his friend visit Imbak Yu Supil, seeking help to convince Makmur that his wife is a ghost. Mbak gives them black sticky rice, explaining that if thrown at someone and they react, it means they're a ghost, but if not, they're human. On the other side, Makmur and Sari enter a haunted house, even though Makmur is frightened by the supernatural occurrences. As they enter, a flying helmet welcomes them, startling Makmur. However, Sari calmly picks it up. Moving forward, they encounter a sudden appearance of a dummy skeleton, prompting Makmur to attack it with the toy bear. He complains about the intense scare, unaware that Sari is the one scaring the ghosts. In fact, Makmur himself is a coward. Afterward, they find a wrapped corpse on a bed, but it's just a prop. As Makmur approaches, a frightening corpse appears, causing him to scream. However, when the corpse sees Sari, it flees in terror, jumping out the window. Such a hilarious act. A terrifying red-skinned ghostly gorilla emerges from a cabinet, trying to scare Makmur. However, upon seeing Sari, it cowers in fear. Makmur is terrified, almost having a heart attack, as he sees a ghostly figure with a white face and disheveled hair. But this ghost also flees upon seeing Sari. Moving on, they see a girl dancing in front of a rolling chair, but there's no one on the chair. The dancer, with a terrifying appearance, stares at Makmur, but upon seeing Sari, she becomes frightened and starts acting like a wet cat. Then, a ghostly dwarf approaches Makmur's feet, causing him to jump onto a nearby throne. When the ghost sees Sari, it tries to climb onto a bed and hide. The haunted house has a jungle as its final exit. Supra and his friend are hiding in the jungle, watching Makmur and Sari. As Makmur enters the jungle, the artificial ghosts from the haunted house emerge to watch. Sari looks at them while Makmur's friends kidnap him. Sari searches for Makmur everywhere. Makmur's friends, dressed as ghosts, try to divert Sari's attention. However, Sari examines each of them carefully. Jaka is dressed as a gorilla, Fajrul as a white-faced ghost, Solah as a ghostly figure, and Supra as a dancer. Sari then heads into the jungle. Makmur's friends, still disguised, try to escape with Makmur. On the way, they see a ghost who they think is Sari, but it removes its mask, revealing it's not Sari. Then, the real Sari appears, and Solah tries to throw black rice at her, but she dodges it, and only one grain hits her without affecting her. Everyone escapes with Makmur running through the jungle and bursting through the haunted house posters. In the jungle, Makmur regains consciousness and starts calling out for Sari. His friends try to convince him that Sari is a ghost, but he refuses to believe them. Suddenly, Makmur feels pain in his wound. Solah and Jaka start thinking about the ring on the ghostly hand Fajrul saw earlier, which resembles the ring Sari wears. They check Makmur's hand, but don't find the ring. Then, they throw black, sticky rice at Makmur, who starts screaming. They flee, thinking Makmur is the ghost who has been with them all along, even during the war. Now they all want to save Sari from Makmur. To do this, they make excuses to take Sari with them on the boat. As the boat sails on the river, everyone becomes anxious. Suddenly, Makmur appears in front of them. Everyone is frightened and tries to get away from him, but Sari calls out to him. Makmur swims across the river and reaches their boat. Everyone screams loudly, thinking he is a ghost. But Makmur explains that the sticky rice stuck in his wound caused him to scream in pain. He shows them the wedding ring, which he is wearing as a pendant necklace, to calm them down. Then, everyone wonders if Makmur and Sari are not ghosts. Then who is? Jaka starts checking Sari through his crotch and finds out that she is indeed a ghost. Her face is pale and Jaka is terrified. He tries to tell everyone, but Sari silences him by covering his mouth with her long arms. Everyone is frightened by Sari's actions and quickly jumps into the river, swimming to the other side. Fajrul, however, stays behind with Sari in the boat because he can't swim. Fajrul tries to talk to Sari and suggests that she eat some fruit to regain her strength. But Sari's face turns angry, and Fajrul quickly jumps into the river and swims like a pro to his friends. Makmur doesn't want to leave Sari behind because he promised to be with her forever, but his friends try to convince him to leave. Makmur refuses to listen and tries to go back to Sari, but he faints after hitting his head on a tree. Meanwhile, Sari approaches them and everyone quickly picks up Makmur and runs to find help. They take Makmur to see Mbak Yusupil, but nearby in the pond, they find her dead body floating in the water. Fajrul then takes everyone to meet Mbak Yusupil's twin brother to find a solution to their problem. The shaman agrees to help them and performs a ritual to calm Mbak Yusupil's spirit. He invites her spirit into his body and then asks everyone to join him in performing a spell. As they cast the spell, the door suddenly slams shut and everyone is frightened, but it's just the delivery boy arriving with an order. Then they start the spell again, but a strong wind blows open the locked door and Sari stands in front of them. Everyone screams in fear upon seeing Sari. Mbak asks Yaka to throw black sticky rice at Sari, which makes her fall to the ground. Meanwhile, Makmur regains consciousness. Sari gets up upon seeing Makmur and tries to approach him, but Solah throws flower essence at Sari, causing her pain. Makmur starts crying, asking them not to hurt Sari. Everyone curses Sari, saying she's evil and that Mbak's sister Supil was killed by her. However, Sari claims she didn't kill anyone. Fajrul hits Sari with a wooden sword and she clings to the corner of the roof. Everyone panics and throws safety weapons at her. Makmur tries to break free from the ropes, but his friends calm him down. The shaman attempts to communicate with Sari, but she ignores him, causing him to flee, leaving everyone behind. Sari floats in the air above the ground, terrifying everyone. In her anger, she slams all the windows and doors shut with a gesture of her hand. A strong wind causes the candles to flicker, trapping everyone. When the candles blow out, Makmur sees his friends tied up and tries to free them. Sari wants to punish them for trying to separate her from Makmur. Everyone tries to reason with her, asking her to think about Makmur, but this only angers her further. Defying gravity, Sari stretches out her arms and begins strangling Fajrul and Solah. Makmur intervenes, calming Sari by telling her his friends meant no harm and only acted to protect him. Makmur then makes a heartfelt plea, asking Sari to kill him so they can be together forever. Seeing Makmur's tears, Sari descends to the ground, stretches out her arms, and gently wipes away his tears. She cannot bear to hurt Makmur, not even a little. With tears in his eyes, Makmur reveals the truth to Sari. He had known all along that she was a ghost. He discovered this after returning from the market with groceries. When Sari asked if the villagers had mentioned anything about her, he replied no. However, while Sari was working, Makmur saw her reflection through his legs and noticed she was crying, even though she appeared to be smiling. Later, he saw her a decayed skeleton in the jungle. Despite knowing the truth, Makmur chose to stay with Sari's ghost to honor his promise. He vowed to remain with her forever, even if it meant being shunned by the villagers or deemed mad by his friends. Makmur even ate food made from dried leaves and fruits to make Sari happy. Overwhelmed by Makmur's devotion, Sari breaks down in tears. They reminisce about the good times they shared before Makmur left for war. Makmur believes it was Sari's prayers that protected him on the battlefield. So how could he ever abandon her? Sobbing, Sari tells Makmur that she is a ghost and he should fear her. But Makmur insists he fears living without her more than anything else. This heart-wrenching moment is filled with love and devotion. Moved by Makmur's words, Sari stretches out her arms and releases Solah, Jaka, and Fajrul from their restraints. Makmur thanks Sari and embraces her, followed by the rest of the group. Sari then pulls everyone into a group hug, and the film concludes on this heartwarming note. If you enjoyed this movie, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.